Hi, this is Mark Berry with Done Training, and I'm going to show you a demonstration of how to use styling in WPF. In this demo, we're going to look at styles, how to apply them, and also how they cascade within a WPF application. So to begin with, I have Visual Studio 2008 open, and I'm going to create a new project. This project is going to be a WPF application, and I'll name it Styles. Styles are a good bit like cascading style sheets in a web application. They can be used to apply visual changes to the different controls and other UI elements within your page. So here we are. We've gotten a window up. I'm just going to make the window a little bit bigger, give some more room to work with. And instead of using a grid layout, I'm going to change this to a stack panel, just to make it easier to put the items on for my demo and keep them in order. Okay, inside of this stack panel, I could go over to the toolbox, and I could add an item like a button. We see that when I add the button, it already has some properties that describe the appearance of this object. And I could change that down in the XAML if I wanted to. Here I've changed height to 40. Or I could change that from someplace like the properties window as well. Go down here and change the width to something else. Now, we could use those attributes if we wanted to inside of the button tag, but sometimes we want to use a more complex series of items to apply to the button, or maybe we wanted to gather together several different visual properties or other dependency properties and apply them to several different tags, several different controls or other UI elements. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, for the rest of the demo, get rid of everything in the attributes, and we'll hide the properties window to give us a little bit more space. And what I want to do now is I want to apply a style. So styles can be applied several different places within our XAML. The first place that I'm going to apply it is just actually right within the button tag itself. So here I've got button.style to tell it what style I want this button to be in. Underneath that, I need another style tag. And within that style tag, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set one property. So I have a setter. There's a little bit more room here. And I'll set the property of that setter to content. Now you saw that we had a couple of different ways to provide content. We could provide it within the button tag as the text for the tag itself, or we can provide it in a property, etc. Here we're going to put it inside of a setter property, and we'll give it a value. We're using this as opposed to something a little bit more attractive because it'll be easier to read when we get to our cascading portion to know where all the different setter properties are coming from the different styles as they cascade. This is going to come from inside my button tag. Alright. And that's going to be the end of that particular setter. Whoops. Forgot to tell it that this was the button content property. Alright, so now you can see that my content for my button says from inside my button tag. And this is going to give us an opportunity to show us how we can set this property somewhere higher. Because although it's okay to set it for a single button, we might like to put this particular property on an additional button. So I'm actually going to add 2 more buttons. And you can see that right now, neither of these buttons have any content property. And then the other thing I want to do is I'm going to go up to my stack panel. And since I'm going up to a higher scope, everything within the scope of this stack panel is going to get the style that I apply here. So let's go ahead and make a set of stack panel resources. And this is just a spot where we can keep resources for the stack panel. One of the resources we can keep in here is style. We can keep other things in here as well. Okay, and for our style, what we want to do is we're going to set a target type here, actually. And our target type is going to be button. This is one way to apply styles. This says that we are looking for the class defined by button, and this is what we want to apply our styles to for all button tags. In a moment, we'll also do this as a named style as well, where we must reference the name of the style in order to get it to be applied. But first, let's do the type styling. Again, we're going to take a setter property, and maybe I'll just copy it from down here, so we don't have to type it again, except instead of being from inside my button tag, this is from inside my stack panel. So this is the same button content, but now it's from inside my stack panel. And you'll notice that since these are both in that type button that we targeted, both of my button types now have from inside my stack panel. Alright, so let's do another one. We mentioned that we might change this to a named type. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change my style to give it a key. And so I'll go ahead and give this a key. And the key can really be anything. I'll call it style for button. And that's sort of the name of this style if I want to apply it. Oops, typo there. I'll regret that in a second. Alright, so style for button. So now what I want to do is, you notice that since it's named, and we didn't explicitly ask for that particular style, it's now not applied to those. So I'm going to come down to one of these buttons, and I will now apply that style. So here we are, and this style is going to be a static resource. Maybe I wouldn't have regretted it. Another typo there. Alright, we fixed that. Alright, and so now you can see that when we apply that static resource style for button, right, you can see that it's from inside my stack panel, but only on the one where we applied that key and said this is the style that I want to use for this particular button. So this can be useful for saying that this particular button is of a particular type of button or a particular style of button. So you might have things that were cancel buttons and you wanted a style for all your different cancel buttons. That's how we could use that. Alright, and we're going to do one more thing as well, which is we're going to take this stack panel resource, and we actually want to take this to show our cascading, and we want to copy this out, and I'm going to take and put it into my application configuration. So up a level, we'll put this here. There's an application resources section. I'm going to get rid of the key. And now what I've said is I want to style all of my buttons throughout the entire application, whether they're in window 1 or window 2, etc., and all of them to say inside my application. So this is the style from inside my application. Let's save that and go back to window 1. And you can see that when I don't give it any other style, then I get my style from my application. So I can make all of my buttons, or any of my controls, look the same throughout my entire application. And if I want to override that, I can override that within a stack panel or another container and change the style. I can specifically give a name and override it by name, or I could actually override it within the control itself.